All right. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Geoff. Where our mission is two parts, right? The first part is to bring delightful, inspiring guests to the show to leave you with impactful information and empowering solutions. Those of you out there looking to change your life, those of you out there that you know your purpose is powerful. You just don't know how to get to it yet, right? And giving you that information, man, and they come from all over the world, and our focus is around community health and wealth and everything that falls underneath that. And so they come and they share and they leave this information with you. And the second part of it is, and this is the most exciting part for me, and because I know it works. What I'm about to tell you, I know it works, and it can work for everybody. So our whole goal is to reach as many people as we can, right? And giving you what I believe is the greatest reminder of a gift we all have. Yes. It's the conversation you're having with yourself about yourself and becoming aware of that chatter that goes on and how that impacts your energy, how that impacts your thoughts, how that impacts everything in your day. And you wonder why things don't seem to change. So, I was chatting with our guest coming up. Oh man, this guy, I just met him. So that's how the beautiful part about this show is we reach people that are just ready for us to bring to you, right? And we were talking a little bit about, finding the purpose and all these other things. So, man, make sure you call your friends, turn off all your phones, get your pads ready so you can take some notes, right? And use this information today to begin a new journey. So when you wake up tomorrow and you look in the mirror, you guys know I got to ask, when you look in the mirror, you're going to see somebody different. You're going to see that smile coming back from the frown on your face because you don't want to be where you are, right? You're going to realize some of the things that you've done, that you've accomplished in your life, right? And just maybe, the time you spend with us today, can help do these things for you, right? So my name is Geoff Tyson. I'm the host of the show, and I'm known as the Comeback King. You guys know all about that. So let me just get to the bio of our guest so we can get him up here, right? I mean, he's a man of God. He's on the leadership team. I mean, he's got a great bio, so I'm going to highlight it for you. A leadership team in Tampa, Florida. He's the author of 3 books. He's got some interesting titles and some philosophies around some of his books. His upcoming book, Are You Who You Want to Be? Knowing Your Identity Lets You Live Your Purpose. And there's so much talk about purpose. There's so many things going on around that. So I believe that this gentleman, just from the time I talked to him, can communicate some cool things for those of you out there that know you're meant for more. He's got all the books going on too, and he's a cyclist, right? So he found through cycling, he can kind of create some books and things like that. And I'm a cyclist, probably not like him, right? I mean, I see, I ride around the block. This guy probably on the road and all this stuff. I don't know. We'll ask him, right? So, and a father of 3, married guy. He does some leadership. He's got credentials in leadership and development, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And he's also connected with a group here in Houston, where I'm located. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just get to our guest today, my new friend and our new guest, Damian Gerke, from somewhere, I think, in Florida. Yes, all right. What's up, Damian?
How are you, Geoff? Thanks for having me on today. It's a privilege to be here.
Hey, man, it's a privilege to have you, and thank you for coming too. And so I just chatting about how excited I was just from talking to you before the show started. And we got a lot of things I want to ask you, and I don't have the time to ask it all. So why don't we just kind of get into maybe what you feel like you want to kick it off with, since we talked a little bit before the show.
Yeah. So I'll circle back. You and I didn't have a chance, we just talked briefly about this, but for me, this whole concept of identity has become a game changer for me. It's something that I've been focusing on actually for the last 20 years. So it's been a long journey for me. And so that's part of the motivation behind writing the book, because I want other people to be able to go on this journey and it not take so long.
Man, that's powerful, right? I mean, you take this information you've gotten, shorten their time span, and
yeah, it's identity. I'll just to put some things out there in kind of summary form. Identity is who we are at a core level. Like I say, it's like at a soul level. at the level like God looks at you, what, you know, who, the level, the most basic level where you can be known and be aware that you are a unique being. So the world and life and, you know, other people in our lives, both supportive and antagonists and protagonists, you know, people are more than happy to tell us who they think we are. The world, you know, it's easy to look at, well, here's my job and here's my title, or here's my role, or here's my ethnicity or my gender, or, you know, sexual preference or whatever, my success or failure or both, right? And use these things to identify ourselves, and they're insufficient. They're either just categories, or they're situations or outcomes sometimes that we had no control over. And those things aren't really who we are. They are what has happened to us, or they're things that we have done. And that's why people go through midlife crises. That's why, you know, I'm not sure, you got some gray in your beard. I shaved my gray off, so it makes it a little harder to figure out, you know, how old I am. But for you and me, I'm guessing we had midlife crises, you know, in when we were in our 40s or 50s, right? Millennials and Gen Zs are having millennials are having quarter life crises. Gen Zs are having identity crises like in their teens. And it's destructively so. The generations that are coming up have more incidences of and clinical anxiety, depression, suicide, you know, right across the board. And they're open enough to, and frank enough, and, you know, transparent enough to say it's about identity. The good news is they're very open to they know identity is at the core of you know, their life challenge and what they want to do and who they want to be. And they're asking lots of questions about it. You know, when I was growing up, nobody asked. That was not a question you put out there, or even a doubt, you know, the fact that you were even wondering about it, right? So there's there's pluses and minuses to this becoming a you know, a front burner topic, I would say.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because just yesterday I did a quick comment around, you know, wearing the identities that others have given us, and come to the terms that let's create a limitless identity about how we see ourselves. Don't wear the old labels. Don't. You know, the eternal things that take some work to get some of that stuff off, right? That you've talked about there. And you mentioned the different generations and how we deal with things and how they're open about that, and all the things that are going on with them. I've got 3 grandkids because of the degree, right? They're 3, 6, and 14. So when I communicate with the 14-year-old, man, it's crazy.
It is. It's a different world than we grew up in, for
sure. I mean, with all the information that they have, Damian, and you know, and everybody's busy, so a lot of times they don't know where to take the confusion that they have, and it's just ongoing. And then, but to be able to recognize and knowing, you said something, you have the answer for the most compelling question: who am I? You know, you made a reference to that. How does that work?
So just for me, this started out as a practical question. Like, by the time I got to that, I'll give you a quick history. So I came out of college as an engineer, went into the aerospace industry, working as an engineer, did that for 11 years, did sort of a hard right turn from a career perspective, and went into ministry. I was a vocational pastor for 15 years. So toward the end of that time is when I really started asking. I felt like at that time I was really being called or pulled, pushed. I don't know how to describe it, but I just really felt like there was a longing to take a next step. And so the first kind of lenses that I began looking through that question, or the question of identity is like, what's my next role? Well, I've already now been through 2 very different careers.
Yep.
And I don't feel that old yet, but I have no idea who I'm supposed to be.
Wow.
And so that was the question. It was actually a song that the lyrics to a song that got me.
Yeah.
The band is Switchfoot. I don't know if you've heard of them or not. They have a song that the chorus says, how does it go? I'd have to sing it, and that would really be dangerous.
Yeah, go ahead, man. We'll mute you if it gets too bad.
So it says, the song, the chorus goes, "This is your life. Are you who you want to be?" And that actually became the title of the book. Are you who you want to be? Is it and the song goes on, is it everything you dreamed that it would be when the world was younger and you had everything to lose?
Oh man.
And just I'm almost brought to tears. Like, this is so profound for me even now. Thinking about that there is an innocence that has gotten lost. An innocence surrounding our identity, that there's a longing to be known and to know who we are. And this has been true for all of human history, all the way back, every culture, every race, all around the world. This has been a key question that people have asked throughout time is, who am I? It is the existential question, right? And it belies, or it exposes this longing that we have to be known and to know who we are. And so that drives then our activity. Most of our activity that we go through life, we take a job to get fulfillment, or to thinking that it will define us, and it may for a time, but then eventually it wears thin, right? It doesn't we know it doesn't fully define us, or we've moved on to a certain extent we've grown, not moved on. We've sort of grown and developed, and our sense of identity and purpose it moves beyond the container that a simple job or job title can provide, right?
That's right.
So it's a very, very living, breathing, growing, developing thing.
Yeah, and you have that going on too, but on top of the stuff that you're carrying behind you, so you have this, and so how do people bring that?
Yeah.
Together?
So this is essentially chapter 15 of my book. Okay. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. So for me, it was a very, as you can tell with my, one of my vocations there, a pastor. I'm a spiritual person, a follower of Jesus. So for me, faith was a very integral part of this conversation. It won't be for everybody, but for me, it was. So that what I came to terms with in realizing is that God creates each of us uniquely. You're the only Jeffrey that will ever exist in human history. There's 8 billion people on the planet. None of them are like you. 19 billion people have lived before us. None of them are like you. I don't know how many more billions of people are going to come after us, but none of them will be like you. God made you as you, completely uniquely. And so out of that comes a sense of grounding. I came to realize I don't have to be the person I've always been.
Yes.
So when I think about who I want to be, my default was, well, I know who I've been. I need to be a better version of that.
Yeah.
But my reference point was always pointing backward, not forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in the book, I say it's like trying to drive forward, using your rearview mirror. It just, it doesn't work. It's dangerous, right? A disaster. So I had to come to terms with that, and then realize there was a second piece, and there's a lot of modern psychology has there's a lot of information in the book to support this, but modern psychology has come to call it narrative identity. The idea is our identity is not fixed.
Yeah.
We are writing the script of who we are as we're living it out. It's almost like improv. You get up on a stage and you're improving, and by the way, there's other people on the stage, so it's a dynamic, fluid kind of environment, right?
Yes.
You get to decide who you want to be. It doesn't mean like I can't be LeBron James. I love playing basketball.
Right.
I can't be LeBron James because I'm not 6'9", 270 pounds or whatever he is. You're right.
Yeah, zero body fat, all that stuff. Yeah.
Correct. But when it comes to being Damian, I can be. There's no limitations. The only limitations on fulfilling who God made me to be is me.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
That's it.
So it puts me in this place where I don't need the world. I'm not dependent upon the world or other people or situations that are outside of my control anyway.
Yeah.
To define me. My success doesn't define me. My failure doesn't define me. My parents don't define me. My wife doesn't define me.
Yes.
Now they may be supportive.
Yes.
And my, the boss that never thought I'd amount to anything, that, limited every opportunity, that cut me down, that fired me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That person doesn't define me either.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So particularly from a leadership standpoint, I say you can't, if you think of leadership as particularly like servant leadership, that concept, you can't really lead people if you need something from them.
Yeah.
If you need their approval you need them to call you a good leader, that's really weird. That starts getting really strange and codependent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You start chasing stuff. You start chasing popularity or doing things, it gets really messy and weird. Yeah. But when you know who you are, you don't need something from people. It allows you to serve them. You can give. You're not on the take.
Yeah.
You can give everything that you have to give, right?
Yeah.
And if they get credit for something, woohoo. They get credit. You don't need it.
You don't need it. I mean, that's the power of true servitude.
Yeah, exactly.
To be there and recognize that, and most importantly, man, but so you got all this stuff in these people, and we're talking about all these great things, Damian. But when you're sitting in front of someone that is like, you can see it in them, but they can't see it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say in those cases? What have you said? I mean, obviously,
Yeah. So I'll say this one of two. I'm going to say both of them, but there's two distinct ways, and this is where faith comes into the picture. Okay. Okay. But I want to offer two solutions. So to the person where faith is not their orientation, it's not a big part of their life. I would say, what does it, when you get to the bottom of realizing that you are absolutely unique, that there will never be anyone else like you, that there's things that you can do in this life. And I'm not saying chase achievement. I'm just saying recognize, come to terms with, allow yourself permission to not be like anybody else.
Oh, man.
And just be free. Now, from that place, from that posture, from that awareness, from that place of peace and contentment and I don't know how to say the word, like solid, like that foundation, like standing firm on that foundation.
Yes.
Now let's talk about your passions. What do you want to do? What do you hope for? What do you dream about? What do you believe that can be done that is not that somebody else hasn't, the problem that hasn't been solved? What do you believe can be solved that needs to be solved? Right. Tell me about your core values and what's right. So all of these things come together. Yeah. Forget the criticism, forget where you've been. And I'm not saying this is easy. I am saying it's simple, but it's not easy. It's very difficult.
Yes.
Because this is a whole other, this is in my next book. We have a lot of brain physiology and memories and sense of identity that is happening in our brain unconsciously, faster than we can be consciously aware, that's shaping all of our negative self-image.
That's thinking, we like to call it, man.
Exactly. I was going to mention that, stinking thinking. So there's some very practical, tangible discipline things that we need to do to get rid of our stinking thinking,
right.
and actually allow our minds, partly mindset, but it's partly just understanding the physiology of how our brain and how it works. Like it takes 30 days of continual repetitive thinking to overcome one negative thought. You have to literally change, it's neuroplasticity. You have to literally change the wiring in your brain to even know that there's another option. So that's the logistics of it. When you add the faith component to that, it says if you believe in God, that God created the world and God created you, and my frame of reference is biblical, so there's biblical support to this. Like before, I don't know how, don't ask me to explain it, but before time, he knew who you were. Like he has designs for you. So you get to partner with him in what he is doing in the world. And orienting yourself to that purpose, surrendering your own kind of my design for my life.
Self-will. Right? Yep, all the self-will.
Exactly. Self-will, autonomous. It's all about me. Even if that's positive, right? I mean, that could go south pretty quickly. But even if it's well-intentioned and positive, there's still a sense of which I'm in control. And if I'm in control, then I'm really not aligned with God.
Right.
And so there's a, I'm going to say it's the S word for, us in America is really hard to talk about, surrender. There's an actual volitional, willful decision to surrender my rights to my life and say, I'm going to choose to be who God designed me to be, because his design for my life is better than my design. It's better than I could ever come up with.
Ever imagine to be. Yes, sir.
Correct. So that is an additional step to what I mentioned before. Everything else I mentioned before is still in play, but you add sort of a God component to it, and it opens up a whole new realm of purpose and understanding and foundational belief, convictions. You're not shaken. Like, this is what I would say for me and others who I've coached and walked through this. There's a sense of peace, contentment. We're not shaken. Fear goes away. Anxiety goes away. I'm striving. Like I'm striving after stuff. I'm trying this. I'm trying that. This is not working. Boom, boom, boom. I pivot. Like most of that goes away. I mean, you still got to deal with life, right?
Yes, sir.
Cars break down. The yard needs mowing.
You did the wrong thing at home.
Get sick. I mean, there's still all that stuff is, unfortunately still in play. But I'm like, I can tell you, there's very little in life that I worry about.
Well, they say, I got this saying for an association I belong to: spiritual principles are never in conflict.
Yeah.
And all that you said to me is all about the surrender me. That means if it's not, if it's not giving and serving and selfless based, right? And no, it doesn't have your fingers all twisted in it somewhere in there. Your little whatever that is on there.
And I can't, I can't serve if I need something. I can't serve you if I need something from you. And there's so much fulfillment that comes from knowing that you helped another human being, and you just did it because you have their interests in mind, not your own. There's so much gratification that comes from that. And like, what price would you pay for that? Like, you there's no app that you can buy that gives you, there's no download for that, right? It's
No.
it's just this sense of, wow, I changed somebody else's destiny. I changed somebody else's life.
Yeah.
I helped somebody do something, and maybe someone else could have done it. I don't know, but I did it.
Yeah.
And for no benefit of my own other than just to help another human being. There's no better feeling in the world. It's so gratifying.
I just had that experience happen to me this week, and I won't go into the details. We can talk about it another time. But it was like the outcome of it was just way beyond my wildest imagination. By doing something that I know I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And to help a stranger, right? And so, man, it's so true to do that. But it's hard, though, Damian. At least I've seen it's hard for people to trust what we're talking about.
It is.
To be committed to what we're talking about, and you don't have to go to church. That's not what this is about.
Right.
This is anybody that is wherever you believe. It's not so much about that as much as it is about some of the other things that you said, about identity, and the willingness to surrender. Well, take a peek back. You gotta, in my book, you have to really look backwards in your life in order to be free to move forward. There's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
Right, dig out all the stuff and that. But for this discussion, I mean, man, it sounds like we're just talking about how great things are and how good you can be. But the reality is, it's not always that way. And I know you haven't always. I mean, you talked a little bit about the midlife crisis. You talked a little bit about where am I when your corporate life and your ministry life was there. Now here you are at this space. I mean, there had to have been some times where you're like, man, worry set in. The whole fear of change was there. I mean, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So thank you for recognizing that, and you're exactly right. So for me, once I began going down this identity journey, I realized that the way I sum it up is I say I have been the barrier to my moving forward. So what came out of it was a number of things, and these are not in any particular order. But one, realizing that I sort of had this expectation that I can get to, there's a place in life that I'm going to get to where I'll never need anything from anyone anymore. I won't have to work. I won't have to search. I'll just be able to kick back and kind of coast, the rest of life.
Yeah.
And so that's really a false expectation.
Yeah.
But it's very strongly supported in the world, like in marketing, and just we're brought up in this environment that that's going to be a reality. So I had to come to terms with that. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't like admitting that I need something. Right.
Yeah, man. That white flag is a scary thing, buddy. Especially
So one of the chapter in the book that exposes this is what's the title? Thirsty. So just think from your physically, right? If the only time you're not going to be thirsty is when essentially you're dead. You're always going to be needing hydration, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and we always grow. Like if you're not learning and growing and developing, the only time you're not doing that is when you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's a normal thing to have needs, to be wanting, to be longing, to be searching. That's normal. It's not something to be afraid of, and it's not something to be ashamed of. So that was a huge turner for me. The other thing was I was really selfish. I was looking for my own, gratification,
Yeah.
and not realizing that, again, faith component, God made us to be blessers of other people.
Yeah.
Not and me in blessing other people, you get blessed. So that was a huge one. I had to come to terms with judgment. I was really critical of other people, comparing myself to other people and saying, "Oh, I'm better than you," and "Oh, I'm not as good as that person. Maybe someday I can be like them." So all of that started getting exposed, and a lot of it was, again, from a spiritual perspective, like a lot of conversations with God, where He's basically saying, like, you're not all that in a bag of chips, like you're incredibly valued, right? I made you, but man, your design for your life is it's not much to talk about.
Not working.
It's not working. Forgiveness was another one. I had to realize I was holding part of what kept me from being who I want to be is I was holding on to offenses that other people had done for me, against me, and I was holding grudges and inwardly kind of satisfied when they were struggling.
Yeah.
Like, karma, baby,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
karma sucks, like, and just that attitude of, I had to let all that go. I had to just let it go. And then this sort of design for my life, like, I'm really kind of chasing, I'm creating stuff and then and depending upon it. Like, I'm depending upon myself. And that just got to be kind of a lonely place when I'm really just depending upon myself.
Yeah.
Because, depending on something else that's un-American, right?
Yeah.
That's not unmanly. You don't do that.
Not manly, man.
So then when you realize I'm dependent upon myself, it's like, it's okay to depend upon others, not to be dependent or codependent, but just we're made to be communal beings. Like, we're made for synergy.
Yes.
If you and I collaborate on something, it's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's 2 + 2 = 8, right? Like, the outcome is so much better.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, there's got to be this really collaborative give and take. Like, I need to accept what you bring. You need to accept what I bring. Whatever you do is going to inspire me to do things I wouldn't have otherwise done on my own.
Yes,
and that we're made for that. It's a part of our, even secular, psychology talks about the sense of identity is I'm in both. It's like a two-sided coin. I am at once a unique individual, 100% absolutely unique, without question. Period. New paragraph. The other side of the coin is the only way I come to understand who I am is in connection with other people.
Yeah.
So there's a relational dynamic to life that I need to embrace fully and like surrender to. And that, relationships can be tricky because you open yourself up for hurt and disappointment, but you also open yourself up to be loved. And again, simple, not easy, but truthful.
Yeah.
But the more confident I am in who I am, I can enter into relationships in an effective, healthy way. Like, boundaries are not an issue. Like, it's much easier to set expectations and have healthy, effective boundaries and healthy communication. Because if I'm talking with my wife, I don't need something from her. I don't need her to perform for me to, I don't need to perform for her, and vice versa. Like, she embraces me, warts and all. And she affirms me, and this is my home, right? Like, it's right. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Right. Well, you said love, and that just kind of just sprinkled the whole conversation. That word love, and just the energy that I got from you saying that is part of what you were saying. And then, I was thinking, as you were talking about, I was like that a lot, man. in my first phase of my life, and then I heard this saying a long time ago: you can go faster alone, but further together.
Right.
And it's like, I don't think so. But it took me a while to get there. but
It's true, isn't it?
the loving part, the caring part, all that
Yeah.
kind of fall in place for me to be able to sit here and talk to you today. And so all these things you're talking about are just real life for everybody.
Yeah.
And they can find their way. And I love how you talk about this. We are all unique. Oh man, and those of you out there, I'm going to say it, and you can tell me what you think too. But
Okay.
there's some. I was guilty of when I would think of people would say things to me that I really liked, and say, "Oh yeah," and then I could do it and feel like that's probably true what they were saying about me. Owning it was another thing.
Yeah.
Being comfortable enough to take that and believe it, and then accept it and say thank you back.
Yeah.
And then pursue it.
Right. 100%. I couldn't agree more. It's the way I call it is giving yourself permission.
Yes.
Right. To believe. Yeah. So I know we're kind of getting close to time here, but I just want to sort of set this up. What I've come to realize in talking about the book that's out there, Are You Who You Want to Be, in the field guide, by the way, that goes along with that. It's two separate books, but they go together. Okay. Is it sort of can come off sounding like pop psychology, stuff.
Yeah.
So my next book is a leadership version. The working title is Are You the Leader You Want to Be? But I'm going to spend quite a bit of time unpacking some brain physiology. So we've learned so much in the last 15, 20 years about how the brain works.
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
And so the just as a sort of a teaser for that, the right and left hemispheres in our brain operate completely differently, or very much differently.
Yep.
Right hemisphere, one guy, the way one author said it, the right hemisphere believes but doesn't know. The left hemisphere knows but doesn't believe.
Doesn't believe. Oh man, I love that.
So identity lives primarily, or the right hemisphere is the one that initiates a lot of and contains a lot of our sense of identity. And it's supraconscious. It happens. The brain signals travel faster than we can even be consciously aware. So all these sense of, you hear people talk about imposter syndrome and things like that. That's because their identity, it's coming from their right hemisphere that they can't be consciously aware of. Right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So there's some very practical exercises and things to do to recognize I actually can give myself permission to believe that I am a unique being. Yeah. And that there's a purpose that flows out of that uniqueness. And that's just, it's discerned through belief. You don't need proof.
Yeah.
You actually have to make the willful decision. It's that surrender piece to believe that that's true. Yeah. And the way that a phrase that has really helped people is just give yourself permission to believe that, even though the evidence, you got lots of evidence that would not support that.
That's right.
Even though the evidence is not there, you got contrary evidence to that. Just drive a stake in the ground and say, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And then let your left hemisphere start creating strategy and plan and definition and language around that belief. And it takes some practice. It's not just going to happen. It's not a switch. Yeah. You have to actually discipline your mind and physically rewire your brain to line up with that belief.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to I'm going to kind of ask you on this stage so you can maybe change your mind. I'd love to maybe have you come back and just, talk about that a little bit more.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Some simple things that people can use, because when we talk about the 2 million-year-old brain and the things that we've learned in the last years around all of that, the stuff that you're talking about is really spot on. And then you add your energy, just shifting your body energy on top of that.
Yeah.
Accelerates the transition, the change, the transformation. So I'd love to do that. So listen, man, how do people get a hold of you? And tell us about you.
Yeah. So easiest way is to go to my website, damiangerke.com. There's a form you can fill out. Would love to hear from you. Particularly if you read the book and have some feedback. I'd love to hear that. I'm also on LinkedIn pretty heavily. That's my primary social media outlet. So I post there regularly, and people can reach me there easily.
Well, I'm going to get the book. I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
I saw the title and I'm like, oh man, it called me, and then now, and then you're starting one too, right? That'll be coming out that you kind of created or came about through cycling.
Oh no, that one came out in 2016. Actually, that was a leadership book. Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is a leadership book. It's the leadership version of Are You Who You Want to Be?
Okay.
The working title right now is Are You the Leader You Want to Be? But it's based on this having a leadership identity, understanding your leadership identity and how to lead from that posture.
Yeah, and that's going to be a whole other great conversation.
Yeah.
So, especially knowing now where you come from and what you think and how you feel about things. There's going to be certainly some real powerful spiritual blending in all of that, man, and servitude and creation, empowering people.
Right.
Beautiful. All these things help balance the stinking thinking. Damian, man, this has been great today chatting with you. I got 2 pages of notes, and I'm going to and listen to some more, right? This is exciting for me. And I want to say thank you. Thank you. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Oh, same here, Geoff. It's been a privilege, and I look forward to our next conversation as well. Thanks.
All right, man. Great job, my friend. Well, hey, listen. All I can tell you is go back and start at the beginning, get some popcorn and a notepad, and just stay in place. There's so many things around, things that you can take right now, you listener out there, that really knows that you're meant for more, that you've been looking for a way to find that purpose, your identity, man. Come on. It's real. He shared with you what he did in his lifetime and what he's doing now. And that stinking thinking no longer has to be the roadblock. That stinking thinking no longer has to be the trap that we all fall into. And we step back and we shrink. So stop shrinking. Go back and check this out. Share this with your friends. I know everybody's got a friend out there that can fit into this conversation. I know it. So you have a responsibility to listen to it yourself and get it shared to your friends. All right, hey, well, listen, have a great day. I appreciate everybody. And remember, share, like, and subscribe. And if you're interested in me that's been running, if you want to get a hold of me, I know we had some people trying to get a hold of me for more conversations. Please do that. Reach out to my man. Make sure you support him. Show him some love. And go get the book. All right. Talk to you soon on another Conversations with Geoff. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.